Couple of weeks ago, Carrie, that men's course record went down. Parker Wolf running 23:04. Parker Valby still has that mark to beat on the women's side, 19:17. Yeah, that will be, but as we look at these top women's teams and top individuals that we'll preview now, certainly capable of running that fast. And when you amass this kind of firepower in terms of ranked teams, everyone's going to be trying to race at their best.
Well, and I think we've heard it even, the ladies of NAU are saying they are now confident. They belong here. They want to be up where they are ranked. And so maybe throw the time out the door. It's not quite as wet as it was when Parker Valby ran that fast time. But, I think right now it's really about that, seeing where you are as a team and getting excited and really racing, which you and I love, right? Especially in cross country. Throw the time out the door and just race.
Yeah, a lot of intriguing storylines on this women's side, including NC State, trying to keep that winning streak alive, but coming in ranked 5th in the country. And, their personnel obviously trying to find those next generation athletes that will fill some of those top spots that have been relinquished by the likes of Kelsey Camille and Caitlin Toohey. As we look at the women's key individuals, another debut this year coming out of the great state of Florida.
Yeah, Hilda Alamomoy, she is something else. She is quite the competitor, but we're seeing her in a different jersey again. And, 6th in 2022 at Nationals, 4th last year. I mean, just a superstar on the grass. So I think we'll be excited to see how she races today. And there's a number of ladies right behind her. Carolyn Tanui, she is having a phenomenal year. She's just a flat out competitor. That's what her coach calls her, a flat out competitor. And if your coach says that, you better watch out. So all of these ladies looking to have great days. We haven't seen Kaylee McCabe yet this year. She is debuting here again, but took the year off last year and is back and always one we have to keep our eye on.
And Lexy Halladay-Lowry of BYU with that top-ranked, or one of the top-ranked teams of the country in BYU, coming to the line as we get set for the racing. A lot of smiles here at the start of the race. I think a lot of those smiles reflected the fact that, we're kind of getting into the meat of the season, last kind of week of the regular season before we turn our attention to the championship racing season. What are you most intrigued by as you prepped for this women's race today, Carrie?
I mean, I think seeing these full squads, we have so many athletes that haven't even touched a race yet. And so I think it's really interesting, but also the fact that we have the top 5 ranked teams here on the women's side. Sometimes you want to save your cards and wait till nationals. Not today on the women's side. They are here. They're ready to see what each other are made of, and they're ready to go.
Can hear Mike J in the background, about 2 minutes away from the gun time at the top of the hour. Again, 6 races on our schedule today. The A races here will begin things with the women at 6,000 meters and the men racing at 8,000 meters. There's an open division kind of in the middle part of the day. And then we'll wrap things up with the B racing. So about 3+ hours of coverage here, whether you're joining us on runnerspace.com or the simulcast on Big Ten Plus. Glad you're here today. Glad to see the weather conditions good. This championship course getting a lot of racing throughout the course of this fall, and the biggest race of them all coming up in that 3rd weekend of November with the NCAA championships coming back to Thomas Zimmer here in 2024. And, Carrie, in a year where we're seeing a lot of new teams and new conferences and realignment and the shift in what we've seen in collegiate sports, this is, back to what we're used to. All the best teams in the country, regardless of collegiate conference affiliation, getting to the line, and, most of the same characters and teams that we would see year in, year out, ready to show what they have here about a month away from the NCAA championships.
Well, Paul, I love this race, but this was one of the most nerve-wracking parts right here.
We all enjoyed the silence, but the silence is shattered by the starter's pistol and the racing at the 2024 pre-nationals at Thomas Zimmer is out and underway. And here comes the convergence of all those runners as they'll get squeezed in from this very wide opening stretch of the race. You see NAU coming together as well. Arkansas, BYU, NC State. There are the Arkansas Razorback entries as we'll work our way through all of the teams today. And again, as you start to see some of these names populating, we've seen some of the early races, called some of the early races carry in this early part of the season. And there's just been a lot of folks sitting on the sidelines waiting for about this moment in the season to start getting themselves into championship race shape.
Well, and it's interesting, we'll see in different, social media or whatever, where we see athletes actually doing great workouts, right? But they haven't towed the line yet because they're getting themselves ready for it. They're getting themselves race sharp. But as we just listened into that start line, the silence of it, that's where it all comes together. We might not be quite race sharp here at pre-nats, but getting here, seeing the course, feeling the excitement of being somewhere where you're going to go and run the big dance, right, in a few weeks, that's what it's all about. And this is just a great dress rehearsal. Nutty is great. Nutty is a fun race to come to, and we saw a lot of teams there that aren't here today. But this is really, for me as an athlete, was one of the most important races of the season. I really wanted to run pre-nats and get the feel and get the nerves and know where I was going to eat and what the hotel was like and all of those things before the race at the end of the season.
Yeah, we talked about Hilda Olamome of Florida, and she's front and center with that lead group as they work their way around here into the early stretches of the racing. Our live stats will have splits at the 2K, the 4K mark. Also noting Peyton Noe of Arkansas up there in the front as well, bib number 116. But, we're going to have this focus of attention, obviously, Carrie, and the camera on the Gator following the lead athletes. But the other thing that the coaches have talked about going into this race is there's a lot of decisions to be made, not necessarily about who your number one, number two, or number three runner is, but those spots that are going to potentially win you a conference and then potentially a national championship trophy. You've got some people, this is your chance to make the coach believe that you should be part of that squad that goes to the line when the championships count.
Most definitely. I mean, yeah, we might know who the top one or two, maybe even three are on each team, but to know that those important runners of 4, 5, 6, even 7, knowing who you're going to bring to nationals is so important. So this is a huge day. There's a lot of teams that go very deep, and they could have 10 girls that could be in that top 7. So they definitely know they have to run that way. There's a lot of nerves, but this is what it's all about. It's the excitement of making that top squad and helping your team. So yeah, pretty cool though to see just the dynamic duos that we have on some of these teams, and in particular Arkansas always running well at Chili Pepper. But this year, you look at Mia Cochran and Peyton Noe, they finished in the exact same time. And sometimes that's just a race where they are doing a workout within it. But to see these athletes be so close, that's kind of a sleeper team for me. Arkansas, I think, is always one you have to watch for.
See Elizabeth Barlow of Florida State among the leaders here as they work their way down. In the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you see the athletic course tracker that follows this group of women around the course at the 6,000-meter distance, kind of the lower south end of the course, and going along those tree lines. They eventually get into the tree lines right around the time we'll get that first split on the day. Not only will we'll have the leaders for you, but also in real time, and really the fun part of the graphics we can deliver here and the real-time stats we can deliver here is the real-time team scores as those athletes all cross that timing apron.
We're watching Kaylee McCabe, I believe, up there in the front there with the blonde ponytail from West Virginia. She took last year as a red shirt, so she is coming back, but she's such a competitor. We've seen that on the track and on the grass for her. And she went and won her opener in a course record. So she is definitely giving it her all and being that gritty Kaylee McCabe that we know. So she's up front right now.
Along with her, we saw her teammate Joy Naucott, the freshman from West Virginia, so running well here early, but you can see already losing some folks out of the back of this lead group as the pace stays pretty quick here up and front. And McCabe with Olomomoy here in the early going. We get into these tree lines, sometimes some issues with the signal on that gator. We'll try to get reconnected to the leaders here as we await for them to come out and through. About almost to the 2K mark here with that lead group now seemingly having just a slight bit of separation. Carrie, would you say about maybe a dozen here in that lead group? Still everyone behind them, maybe 30, 40 deep, still within a few strides of them here as we near the 2K mark.
Yeah, they're still all together, but I think this is where we're going to see, just some weeding out of some of the athletes. Getting out strong, making sure you can see your teammates is such a crucial thing in cross country, especially when you're going for a team title. You want to be able to see your sisters or your brothers or whoever it is that you call your family members of a teammate. But I think that that's important. So getting out hard, seeing if you can hold on for as long as you can is so important. People will come back to you, but I always say in cross country, know where you want to finish and be able to see it, because you can't rely on someone coming back to you. You need to be in control of where you are.
Well, those 2K splits now populating the left side of your screen. Pamela Koske of New Mexico, the freshman, is the leader through the first 2,000 meters. Olomomoy in her season's debut and in her Florida Gator debut in second. And then McCabe, Jeptanui, Naucott, Noe, Halladay-Lowry of BYU, Thomas, and Schipperin. Those are your top 9. Grace Hartman of NC State for the defending champions from NC State. She's currently in 10th. And then you see that team score already added together. Northern Arizona out to the early advantage with New Mexico second, Notre Dame, and BYU. But 2/3 of the race still to unfold here, Carrie.
Yeah, new name sort of in the U.S. collegiate scene is Pamela Koske. Her sister is one that we have heard of if you follow road racing. Bridget Koske, I got to call when she set that world record in Chicago at the marathon when she ran 2:14. Amazing runner, and just fun to see that she has siblings and younger runners behind her in that family. But yep, now she's sort of tucking in behind Kaylee McCabe. Kaylee McCabe and her teammate right up front there. Interesting. I love that when you had your teammate next to you getting after it and going hard. It was such a confidence boost. And that's what I heard from the NAU girls, hearing that they have this new confidence within each other, but also just feeling like they are ready to go and do some damage. Not one NAU woman right up front, but they are there, and we know that.
8.5 minutes complete, nearing the halfway mark of this women's 6K at pre-nationals on a sunny and relative warm day in the upper Midwest for mid-October. Temperatures supposed to get up to about 70 degrees, about 50 degrees during the early stages of this race. As we once again see McCabe now out and away and by herself here in the corner, and a little bit of hand gesturing there by Olomomoy. I think just feeling a little bit of contact from behind as they make this turn here nearing the halfway mark.
Well, it can be a little bit of a contact sport out there, especially when trying to find the tangents and trying to, deal with a hard ground. They haven't seen a lot of rain in Madison, Wisconsin. The whole Midwest hasn't seen it. And so it is a hard, fast course. But if there's any kind of unevenness, you can get thrown off and kind of throw yourself into people. So having a little space is nice, but it's just part of the game, right? You're gonna bump a little bit. But still, Paul, it's interesting. We're looking at the team score. NAU is up there, but there's no one right in that front pack unless I'm missing it.
Yeah, at that 2K point, it was Maggie Congdon who was the top NAU runner back in 11th, but their spread was pretty tight. They were 11th,
Yep.
17th, 25th, 26th, and 29th. So all 5 of their scoring members in the top 30 positions, as you see that large group still in relative connection with each other from front to back here. And this is where the team race really is decided, not necessarily those racers at the front. You know, we saw those highlights earlier from Chili Pepper where Arkansas's women went 1 and 2, but they didn't even win the team race. So it's, again, almost, a constant reminder in this sport of cross country that, that lead group, while an interesting race up front with Olamomoy now into the lead, still just one piece of the overall team race puzzle.
It's so true. And the tactics that each team will take, there are times when you have to let an individual just fly and let them go. But also, if you have a team that is going for the national championships or the pre-national championship, I mean, it's interesting to see how they run. And we know that BYU has done it in the past. NAU does it on the men's side. And now on the women's side, getting to be more of actually ranked higher than the men this year, and maybe a little bit more of a favorite to win that title and bring home to NAU this year. It's just always interesting to hear what they are doing, and sticking together as a pack definitely looks like that's what BYU and NAU is doing today.
Caroline Jeptanui there alongside Olamomoy, and then Koske, the freshman from New Mexico, beginning to get themselves a little bit of separation. I believe that's McCabe back there in 4th, but a couple of strides behind here. This has been quick through the first half of the race. The course record, of course, Parker Valby's from the University of Florida. She ran 19:17 last year at Nuttycombe. And Olamomoy, coming on that transfer route, really been asked to step in and fill that massive void left behind by the departure of Valby, and doing everything she can to make a strong statement in her debut in that singlet here on the course in Madison.
Well, you said it. I mean, when you're trying to follow suit of a Parker Valby, you get kind of excited that you have that same excitement and energy on a team. So you know that she's running with that. She's running with that excitement. But I do think Caroline Jeptanui is one to watch. She's had a really good year. She just was second to Doris Lemengul, who was second last year at NCAA. Doris was. So, she had to have gotten excited about that with her race in Chicago just a couple weeks ago. But, she is someone that's now sitting behind, sort of hiding out, maybe letting that pressure go to the top 2 with Koske and Olamomoy. But definitely Jeptanui is now looking around, seeing what's happening. And she is the one, I think, to watch right now. She's settling into that 3rd position, maybe setting herself up for a sit and kick. Again, Olamomoy asking for some space. She wants space out there, Paul.
So those 3 up in front, and now let's watch as those team scores get populated. And just like that, 5th woman across for BYU, as they now have unofficially moved up and into the lead ahead of Northern Arizona, 103 to 139. BYU being led by Lexy Halladay-Lowry, as we expected. She's up among the leaders back there in 7th. And BYU also in 13th, 24th, 29th, and 30th. There you see the spread for BYU, 26 seconds. And the spread for Northern Arizona, 9.3 seconds.
Well, Lexy Halladay-Lowry, she has had a good season already. She had that big win at Notre Dame. And the one thing I think with her is this is her last season. I think that she's really looking for a big NCAA meet. She's kind of had some rough luck in the past years. And I think this is something where maybe she's playing it safe a little bit today just to get this race under her, get a real good idea of what she needs to do at NCAAs. But regardless, she's having a phenomenal year, and her teammates look like they are falling into place as they should.
Keeping that camera on the lower part of the screen just to see some of those other teams and their athletes move on through. So many of the top teams of the country. See Michigan, UConn, Iowa State, Wake Forest, Florida State, But the racing here in front, this has really turned into a kicker's race, though, Carrie. This group of three, Olamomoy, Koske, and Jeptanui, have really separated themselves from the rest of the field here as we're into the final third of the race.
Well, watching Olamomoy last year at SECs, this is how she ran. She ran right with her teammate the entire way, real confident, wasn't afraid of touching the front. She seems like she likes to be in control, and that is a way to race, right? As long as you have enough to hold off the mental challenge, the physical challenge of everyone around you. Sometimes I think leading races is almost harder mentally than it is physically, just because you have no idea what's going on around you. You're not the one sitting and kicking. But Alamomoy in that new jersey this year, looking like she's in great command right now. She looks nice and easy, but the other two around her do as well.
And still some undulations there, as you see on the bottom of your screen, the athletic elevation tracker as they come off that last primary climb here in the race. And Olamomoy now beginning to start to show some distance between her and Koske and Jeptanui and Carey. We're going to have to keep an eye on that clock as well. A little over 3 minutes before they get to the line, and Parker Valby's course record of 19:17 is absolutely in jeopardy.
Yes, it is. And you know, she would love to have that next to her name going into an NCAA championship with the fastest ever run on this course. But let's keep an eye on it. But she looks good. She took advantage of having that little bit of a downhill. And I like that. Kind of surprise everybody around you. Just see if you can attack. But she didn't lose them too much. They're still there.
Yeah, the two freshmen, Jeptanui and Koske, with looks like Jeptanui maybe just a half stride or so, and trying to regain contact with the leader, Olamomoy. About a half K to go here in the leaders. You can see that group behind that is led by Kaylee McCabe, I believe, still in fourth position, running well for West Virginia, but now with just another slight rise and into these closing stretches of this women's 6,000 meters. Olamomoy now has begun to break and get additional meters between her and the two freshmen that are chasing her.
Well, Alamomoy being runner-up last year in the 10,000 meters on the track, you know she has the strength, but she also has the speed. She's an 8:45 3,000 meter runner. She's got that 15:06 5,000 meter PR. So you don't want to leave it to a kick with this woman. When you have strength and speed, that is lethal.
Koske has now tried to start to get herself a more solid connection to second place, and now trying to close the gap. And a big look behind as Olamomoy senses there's someone coming to chase her down.
She sure is, Paul. Look at her. She has to go right now, though. This is where you have to go. Get up on her shoulder, hang or take off, one of the two. If you're going to hang, hang. But if you want to go, you got to go hard, and she's going hard.
And Koske challenges Olamomoy, trying to hold her off. Look at this race to the finish line. Again, the course record by Parker Valby is 19:17, and that is going to get destroyed in the process of crowning a pre-nats champion here in Wisconsin. Koske to the lead.
I love it. When she went by her, she put it down, and she has broken them. Koske waited, and when she went again. That was the thing. Alamomoy had a little in her, but Koske had a little more.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 all looking behind them, all trying to hold on to their spot, and no one's going to catch Pamela Koske of New Mexico as she breaks the course record here in winning pre-nats. Olamomoy finishing in second. What a finish here. We'll await for the official final result there, but all three of those women carry under the previous course record.
They ran so smart, and they also ran so hard. I loved that last 1,000 meters. All three of them going hard for it. And wow, back and forth, but give it up. Koske just looked great. Pamela Koske had a really nice last 400 meters.
And now we keep an eye on other teams coming through as that race for the team title unfolds. BYU getting a couple in here right now. There's Washington coming across the line. More BYU Cougars in the background, along with Florida State, waiting for these times to become official, and we'll populate the screen just as soon as we have them. But we can tell you that Koske did go under 19 minutes in winning this 6,000 meters, first woman ever to traverse this 6,000 meter course in under 19 minutes. 18:59.1. Olomomoy in second in 19:02.9. Jep Tanui 19:05.4. Kaylee McCabe also under the previous course record. Chloe Thomas of UConn also under the previous course record. What a statement race for the collegiate women here in 2024, as the first five are now official, and the timing catching up here because the chaos at the finish line also putting the pressure on the timers here as they get themselves through these top positions. Grace Hartman of NC State in sixth, Caitlin Noe of Arkansas in seventh, Gapes of NC State finishing in eighth, Lexy Halladay-Lowry of BYU ninth, Nowcott of West Virginia in 10th. And you see in the parentheses up above the number of athletes officially scored across the line, as they'll wait for 5 total to get us a team champion here. So we'll learn that result along with you all in real time as we watch the rest of the field here finish off a remarkable, remarkable race.
Very fast race. You know, we talk about times in cross, and I think anytime you get under 19 minutes, that is like a wowza. But look at all of those women. What, 6 of them going under that record? Yes, it was wet and a little bit muddy, but this is when you take advantage of great conditions and great people around you, great camaraderie, right? So it was a great racing day for all of them. And actually, I just think it's really cool that we still are trying to figure out who's going to win this race as a team. I mean, to have the top 5 ranked teams here, this is what it's all about. So it's really cool that they were able to bring them, all these women here together today.
Well, you see now BYU getting its 5th athlete officially across the line. Maybe a few screams in the background as well as those results are being shown adjacent to the finish line. So unofficially right now, waiting for that 5th NAU runner to come across the line, as Washington has moved into second here unofficially with 157 points. But BYU, again, we didn't talk much about where their top athletes were, with the exception of Halladay-Lowry, but it does look like their spread of just under 20 seconds is going to get them. Well, that's Washington's spread, rather. They are in second here unofficially, but BYU with placings 9, 14, 20, 27, and 35 puts together a score of 105 and looks to be the unofficial winner here at Pre-Nats. There are the spreads of first and second. Northern Arizona now with 5 across, unofficially in third. Well, Carrie, that was just the first race, and certainly did not disappoint. These folks are ready for championship racing.
I think so. And you know what's even better to think about is that they still have some time to tweak and to get people back to where they want. But right here, watching Alamomoy sort of like lurking the entire time at the front. She really wanted command of this race. She is, as we said, in a new jersey and has big shoes to fill, but she has her own shoes that she is doing very well in. And I think the one thing that really was interesting to see Pamela Koski be able to come back from sort of being dropped a little bit there. She really hammered home, and look at this. She's even celebrating before the line.
Well, she deserves some rest after that sub 19-minute performance, the fastest 6,000 meters run by a woman here at Thomas Zimmer Championship Course. Just a freshman for New Mexico, but Pamela Koski is the champion here at Pre-Nationals. 18:59.1 her winning time. BYU, Washington, Northern Arizona, 1, 2, and 3 on the team side. Let's check in with Mike J., who has the winner and the new course record holder.